mother at school walking to his classroom after a science fair. Today, police in Oregon are expanding the search for a missing 7-year-old boy. They're also asking for any photos or...
there's always an off chance that he wandered off and he was just fine. He just got lost and somebody picked him up and was trying to help him out.
Police in Portland, Oregon this morning say that they're still concentrating on the area where he was last seen.
It has been nearly a week since Kyron Horman vanished from his elementary.
And authorities have been following up now on more than 1,200 tips.
Officials admit the clock is ticking.
The search would be one of the largest in state history and would end on June 13th. 9 days after he went missing, however, that's when the criminal investigation began back to the family, as things usually go, and all were very cooperative. With the investigators, with the police, all passed polygraphs. All except Terry, the last person to seek kyron now, although polygraphs. But when she failed it, she more or less painted a big old bullseye on herself, and everything she would do after this point would make that bullseye just even bigger. Talking to her friends, it was revealed that things weren't as good as people thought. Terry was upset with Kane because Kane made her son move out of the house a few months prior. Kane and her son didn't get along, and allegedly she wrote an email to a friend at one stage blaming kyron for the problems in her marriage to Kane. Allegedly he was abusive and planning on divorcing her, and it seemed like Terry didn't like kyron very much at all then. 3 weeks after kyron's inexplicable vanishing, Kane was asked to come into the sheriff's office alone, where he was told an undercover operation was going on at his home. Now it wasn't in relation to the disappearance of his 7-year-old boy. See, allegedly Terry had hired the family gardener Rodolfo Sanchez to kill Kane, what the sheriff told Rodolfo, Rudy for short. That Kane carried around just a lot of money, and just kill him, make it look like a mugging, and even better for Rudy. Right, he carried around usually about 10 grand and an expensive laptop, so you kill him, you get to keep everything. So Rudy and an undercover cop went up to the house and began bartering with Terry. However, Terry, being suspicious, called the cops. Now she didn't cooperate with the undercover operation, so she never actually committed a crime. She wasn't charged.
Hello, I'm Tracy Barrett.
And I'm Joe Donlin. First at 6, the Kyron Horman investigation takes another turn. Now a reliable source tells News Channel 8 officers were prepared to arrest stepmom Terry Horman for hiring a hitman to kill her husband.
More than a month after 7-year-old Kyron Horman disappeared, the focus remains on his stepmother, Terry Horman. Detectives aren't saying that Terry is a person of interest or suspect in the case, but a reliable source tells News Channel 8 that police were prepared to arrest Terry for plotting to kill her husband, Kane. Terry offered to pay a landscaper for the murder, saying Kane had hurt her emotionally, and that an undercover detective accompanied the landscaper to Terry's home on June 26th. The source goes on to say that if Terry had implicated herself in trying to arrange Kane's murder, police would have arrested her. The landscaper was wearing a wire, but sources say Terry suspected something was up and cut the conversation short.
Now, regarding the gardener Rudy, was he coerced into taking part in this undercover operation under threat of deportation of not only him but his family? Maybe. In fact, this whole part of the story is a bit iffy. Allegedly Rudy could hardly speak English, and Terry's Spanish was not very good. This whole part of the story, whether it actually was a hitman plot, is kind of taking it with a grain of salt. Anyways, the police told Kane, who got out of the house, and Terry became suspect number 1.
For Terry Horman to fully cooperate with the investigators to bring Kyron home.
Know where Kyron is? Hey. Do you know where, Terry, do you know where Kyron is? Desiree and your husband are saying that you know where Kyron is.
While the public keeps watch for any sign of Kyron, the boy's birth parents are focusing on his stepmother, Terry. Kane Horman just revealed to CBS News what he believes about his wife's fragile emotional state since their daughter was born a year and a half ago.
I think there was some postpartum depression involved.
Sort of shut down and withdrawn, or angry, and...
A little bit of everything.
During the same interview, Desiree Young shared for the first time that she knew Terry was unable to account to police for her actions for several hours on June 4th, the day Kyron went missing.
I can tell you what I ate that day, and she can't tell you where she was.
Kane would also file a restraining order against Terry and also file for divorce. This also wouldn't be the first time Terry would be connected to a murder-for-hire plot allegedly in 1990. Terry Horman was dating a man named Sean Ray. She was 20, himself 18. After they got some Chinese food, they sat to eat in a park when a man came out of the bushes with a gun aimed at Sean. Terry allegedly shouted, "He's here for you," then looked very shocked when the guy didn't shoot Sean and just wandered off. Sean broke up with Terry soon after. During Kyron's search, Terry allegedly sent and received dirty text messages. So shortly after Kyron's disappearance, an old friend of Kane's name of Michael Cook showed up. He had never met Terry before but became very involved in the search after Kane and the baby left Terry. Michael started texting Terry consensual text messages. Here are a few examples of the messages. Terry's on the left, Michael's on the right. "You are a doll. Men don't approach me because they know I can outbench them. Do you know I've never dated anyone I couldn't bench their weight. I weigh about 180. I can do 195. I'm speechless. JK, I will pin you down and sit on you. This is gas." It kind of goes on and on. It's pretty cringeworthy, and it's like a parody of sex thing. Michael Cook eventually left Portland. It ended there, though this didn't help Terry's case obviously, so let's move on. I'm just going to say it now. Did Terry have something to do with Kyron's disappearance? I don't know, but everything she did after he disappeared just made herself look worse.
Let's meet a longtime gym buddy of Terry's name of Dee Spicer. She was a good friend of Terry, was close with her. She stayed with Terry after Kane filed for divorce. On the day Kyron disappeared, Dee was doing some gardening work in Portland, and according to the homeowner, she abruptly left at 11:30 a.m. was unavailable for about an hour and a half until she showed up again at 1 p.m. So she had some kind of unexplainable absence on the day Kyron disappeared, and she was Terry's best friend who allegedly hated Kyron. Police are already very interested in Terry, so they were dying to speak to her accomplice. Dee also became aware that the police were monitoring her and Terry's phones, so she bought them both burner phones. She would also lawyer up, and the police were never really able to get anything incriminating out of her. Everything just makes it look like they have something to hide. A tip would come in from a witness saying they had seen a person standing by a white truck on the access road the buses used to get to the school. Terry drove a white truck. 2 witnesses said they had seen that truck and that there was another adult inside of it that day. Now we should note, though, the groundskeeper, as you can see here, also drove a white truck. So did the people who saw 2 people in a white truck. Was that just the groundskeeper and maybe somebody else, or who knows? However, unfortunately nothing came of that. In fact, nothing kind of came of anything. In June of 2012, 2 years after Kyron's disappearance, Desiree filed a civil suit against Terry claiming she was responsible for his disappearance.
Time has come for Terry to take responsibility for what she has done and to tell me and my family where Kyron is and how he...
During a deposition, Dee would refuse to answer questions, pleading the fifth, including questions regarding her whereabouts on the day that Kyron disappeared, as well as her contact with Terry that day. Now remember, during that 90-minute gap on Terry's timeline the day Kyron disappeared, remember there was a report of an unconfirmed phone call that she might have made. She didn't make anything to Dee that we know. There was nothing on her phone, and a year later Desiree dropped the civil suit against Terry due to the ongoing criminal investigation.
On June 4th last year, I filed a civil case against Terry Horman for her role and responsibility in the disappearance of my son, Kyron Horman. Kyron is still missing to this day. It has now been over 3 years. Terry continues to not cooperate with law enforcement and the investigation in any way. In order for my lawyers to move forward with the case at this point, it would be necessary for them to seek access to the police criminal investigation file. My lawyers have advised me that the Oregon Public Records Disclosure Law does not provide the release of ongoing police investigation files, and I do not want anything that might compromise the investigation. Because my civil case cannot move forward without the police files, it is with great disappointment that I make this difficult decision. I don't want anything to compromise the ongoing investigation for Kyron.
Terry actually tried to change her name from Horman twice to be precise, but the judge wouldn't let her do it due to the ongoing criminal investigation. She got a job as a caregiver, however. When the media found out she quit, she believes Kyron of that same year being 2013. The divorce between Terry and Kane was finalized during the divorce case that lasted about 3.5 years. Kane stated Terry suffered from postpartum depression after her baby's birth and her behavior changed in court documents. He claimed she is an alcoholic, as a personality disorder, and is severely emotionally disturbed. Terry eventually started as kidnapped by a man in a white pickup truck. One she said she saw parked at a 7-Eleven near the school. Allegedly he looked dodgy and asked where the nearest school was.
Why do you think the police have never charged you, called you a suspect, or even a person of interest?
Because they have exonerating evidence they have not shown the public, and they should come forth with what they know.
What's your theory on what happened?
That he was taken from school.
So you think a stranger came in and abducted him?
Yes, and there's pedophiles in the area, definitely.
She lives in California now. She was arrested twice there, once for stealing a gun from a roommate, and then also for driving a stolen car. However, despite everything that happened, the search for Kyron continues. No one knows what happened to him. No one really knows what happened that day during that small window, and it's an ongoing investigation.
Today marks 9 years since my son, Kyron Horman, disappeared. It has been 9 years of not knowing where he went or what happened to him. 9 years without hugging him. 9 years without his smiles or his laughs. 9 years without his love. My heart is broken.
The search area has been reduced to less than 100 acres.
Now I can tell you that we've narrowed it down to less than 100 acres. So it's a huge amount of progress with all the searches that we've done, whether it's law enforcement or private. We've been able to get to a point where at least I feel better. I don't look at all those rolling hills and think we're looking, as far as the eye can see. We're not. We're looking in key areas, and we've narrowed it down.
Where have you narrowed it to?
I can't say that.
According to a book released in 2020, Boy Missing: The Search for Kyron Horman by Rebecca Morris, several people saw Kyron Horman leaving Skyline School with his stepmother the morning he disappeared. Kyron's regular bus driver, along with a classmate and 2 of the classmates' family members, witnessed Kyron walked through the school parking lot with Terry Horman and her infant daughter on June 4, 2010.
Primarily what police and the FBI and the DA's office shared with Desiree. Early on, they told her and Kane that, in fact, Terry was seen leaving the school with Kyron, which disputes everything that Terry has said all these years. They pulled back on that statement for a while, but eventually Kane and Desiree were told that it was true, that at least 2 adults and a child had seen Terry walk out with Kyron and with, of course, Terry's baby daughter was with him too. And literally one of the adults said they weren't holding hands walking out together, but they left the school together. So that's circumstantial evidence, but it's very strong.
Circumstantial evidence, so much in this case just does not make sense, and there is this like tiny window if Terry is telling the truth. By the way, you know where she saw him walking to class and him not showing up at that class? What happened in that school? Did someone walk in and take him? Did Terry take him? Did somebody else take him out of the school, luring him out of school? Because it doesn't seem like he would have left willingly. He seemed like a good kid who wouldn't, you know, skip class, and he had, you know, a science project he was really excited to show that day. Music. There is a reward of $50,000 for any information that brings him home. If you ever heard anything or saw anything, please give this number a bell. Really a tragic case, you know. Karen's mother Desiree said that one of his fears was being unable to find his way home, and well, hopefully one day he will.
For 12 years, and pulling up to the school and knowing that this is the last place Kyron was. I can't even explain the anguish and the heartache.
Horman was last seen at Skyline Elementary School in Portland on June 4th, 2010. He was wearing a black t-shirt with CSI in green letters. He also may have had his glasses on when he disappeared. In the newest picture, you see he has brown hair, blue eyes, and may wear glasses. Horman also has a distinct V-shaped birthmark on his forehead. His mother says she can't believe she's announcing yet another new age progression photo.
I hope that that helps somebody remember something that they've seen, know that they haven't been followed up on or re-interviewed. Over 12 years, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of tips, a lot of information that has to get followed up on.
The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office says they remain just as dedicated to this case as they were 12 years ago. There is a $50,000 reward for information leading to the resolution of Kyron's disappearance. If you have information, call the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office tip line. Galen?
Really excited to show that day. Music. There is a reward of $50,000 for any information that brings him home. If you ever heard anything or saw anything, please give this number a bell. Really a tragic case, you know. Karen's mother Desiree said that one of his fears was being unable to find his way home, and well, hopefully one day he will.